All right, good morning, everybody. Todd Ferguson here, doing a mentor session with Accelerators Organization. So a little bit about myself. My wife and I, we own a couple different businesses in Southwest Missouri. We're in e-commerce, have a couple different stores we sell on, or websites. We do have our own brand. We're also in the warehousing and logistics business. We own what's called a prep center, or a 3PL, it's a third-party logistics warehouse. And then we are also into storage facilities, so self-storage, as well as some residential and commercial real estate. So we're going to use that experience, a little bit of that knowledge, hopefully to help answer some of these questions. So as we go through here, if you have any other, if the questions or the answers or the experience shares don't make sense, feel free to send me a private message through Facebook Messenger. If we're not friends on Facebook, just shoot me a request, and that way it's easier to send messages back and forth. So we're going to go through these, and as you guys listen to these experience shares, try to relate them to whatever challenge or business decision that you're working on right now. So that's the great thing about AO, is being able to ask questions and get 6 or 8 different mentors share their experiences and what's worked for them. And really, that's how you start building confidence, and that's how you start making decisions quicker, and that's how you start moving the needle in the right direction. So first question comes from Erica Stokes. Erica asks, how do you handle the frustrations of knowing you want more, but you are in the beginning and you have to work gigs outside of your business just to keep the money coming in? Business description says, I have a junk removal business in Atlanta. Right now, I'm in this time management, energy management battle. I've been playing with my schedule because driving Uber overnight takes care of the bills. When I get home, my energy is low. I try to power through to do business work, but become easily distracted because I'm mentally drained as well as physically drained because I've been up all day. I find it hard to balance my energy so I can perform well. So Erica, welcome to entrepreneurship. Like, honestly, that is at the beginning stages of most people's businesses. That's what happens, is you've got to usually work a gig, a side hustle, have a full-time job as you're building your business and as you're growing your brand. And that's just part of it. It is easy to get mentally exhausted, physically exhausted. And so the things that I would really encourage you, I got 3 things that just came to mind. The first one is 4 is scheduling. And so you talked about scheduling a little bit, but being very diligent and being very meaningful with your time and your schedule. You know, if you are serious about building a business, there are things that you're going to do that your friends and your family don't understand, and they don't make sense to them. So that's maybe not going out to dinner with them. That's not going out on the weekend. That's sacrificing some of your social time so that way you can work on your business, you can sleep, or you can do your side hustle. And so those are some things, you know, that first one is time management, and really being very guarded with your time. So whether that's using Google Calendar and scheduling things a week in advance, a month in advance, whatever that is, but being very diligent, learn how to say no. The second thing is to eat healthy. I mean, seriously, that is one of the biggest things that you can do is if you are mentally and physically drained, what we put in our bodies is going to help us a ton. Also, talk about sleep. Like, try to get as much sleep as you possibly can, but then exercise as well. And so I know you're sacrificing time, but when you exercise, whether it's walking, running, lifting weights, jujitsu, whatever it is, that releases endorphins. That also helps, but that also keeps you sharp. And so you've got to set aside time for yourself. And I know it's tough when you're already stretched thin, but if you can make sure you eat right and you exercise in your time management, and then also, when you do with your time management, if you do like time blocking inside of that. And so there's something called the Pomodoro method. And I think it's where you work for basically 20 minutes on or 25 minutes on, you take a 5-minute break, and there's timers for all this, but really saying, hey, I'm focusing on this for 25 minutes. And that's all I'm doing. Put my phone on do not disturb. I don't have my email open. I don't do anything but what is in front of me. And that's what's important. And then I take a 5-minute break, and that could be to go outside, to walk around, get coffee, whatever it is, but really those things. So time management, and then time blocking inside of that, exercise, and then also what you put inside your body. And this will come to an end, I promise. You know, as you grow with your business and as your businesses grow, you're always going to be stretched thin, and you're always going to be tired and mentally and physically exhausted. But that's part of it, and you kind of learn how to function on that. But then once you start building a team, you build out systems, that stuff starts to kind of reel itself in, and then you start to deal with other challenges as a business owner, which is fun. One other thing is I'm thinking about this is there is something called decision fatigue. And if you have to make so many decisions in a day, you do get mentally drained. And I've talked about this before, but if you look at like Mark Zuckerberg or Jeff Bezos or anybody like that, generally, I mean, the simplest form of thinking about decision fatigue is they wear almost the exact same outfit every day. And so when they open up their closet, they don't even have a decision to make there. They know they're wearing a black t-shirt and jeans. And so when you can eliminate those decisions and how many decisions you need to make a day, that mentally helps you too. So maybe that's pre-planning your meals. Maybe that's setting out everything in the morning so when you wake up, you just throw it on. Whatever it is, but think about the amount of decisions that you're making because that does play a toll on your mental capacity. All right, next question comes from Ricardo Delgado. It says, how do I create a badass culture in my business? So his business description says, I own a barbershop in Southern California. It's called Premium Barbers. It's been steadily growing, but not fast paced. I have turnover. I'd like to see how I can create a culture people want to stay in and belong to so I can grow by adding locations. Sean has spoken to me about the decor and the vibe. It's not my expertise to know how to create a true culture. We do great work. I'm there for my team, but I want something unique. And so I think the great thing is if you do want to build a great culture, people want to work for companies that have great cultures. And so the things that we have done to help build culture is, number one, we have a mission statement. And so if you don't have a mission statement for your team, and your business, that's very important. And then to have core values. And so core values are what your business operates on, like the values that your business has and that your team should showcase and that your business should showcase. And so, things like I've even stolen some from Sean. If you ever been to Sean's house, he's got in his studio, he used to have all these plaques up there with his core values. And one of them was the clock is always ticking, meaning we don't waste time. And so we have 5 different core values. We have a mission statement. We talk about those with our team. When we do quarterly reviews with them and we do evaluations, we talk about our mission statement and our core values. When we hire, we talk about those with the applicant. And we let them know what we stand for. And so when we do recognition, we do it based on our core values. And so to have those things in place is important. The second thing is that you as a leader need to exhibit those core values and show them daily. So if one of your core values, like for us, is the clock is always ticking, if I am lackadaisically, if that's even a word, or if I am just nonchalantly walking through the warehouse, that doesn't show people that the clock is always ticking. That does not mean I have a sense of urgency. The way I do things, or when I work with people or show them something, the way I work does that. The second thing is just to ask your people, like what kind of culture that they want to be a part of. What's important to them? With us, one of the important things that our team has told us is flexibility. A lot of our employees are single mothers, or they have other things going on. And so we're flexible with them to a certain point, but they know that. We work 7 to 3:30. People usually get to take their kids to school. They get to pick them up after school. And so there's things that you can build into that, but you being the person that shows those core values, you talk about those core values with the team is super important. And then really it's, like, what do you want to be known for? Like, what do you want your business to be known for? And not settling when you're hiring. And so oftentimes we look to fill a position just because we need it filled, and we don't hire for that, and we don't look for that specific person. And so when we put in a person that doesn't align with our core values and that doesn't align with who we want to be as a brand, we're allowing them to dictate that. And that is not something that we want to do as business owners. All right, this next question comes from Ricardo as well. It says, how do I grow as an entrepreneur? How do I use my quote unquote personal brand or personal development, to help my business grow? I own a barbershop in Southern California. I've been doing a lot of personal development and I've noticed a huge impact on my personal growth. I want to use this growth to grow my business and expand so it allows me to do even more in my personal life. I'm getting caught between personal development outside the business by doing some coaching outside of the business, and I'm trying to balance it while I also trying to grow my business. How do I feed the hunger I have to help others grow, which is where most of my income comes from? So the first, I guess not the first thing, but Ricardo, your personal development is, you should be using that as a entrepreneur, as a business owner, as a leader. You should be using what you are learning to help your team and your business grow. And so I don't see personal development anything different than you becoming the best person that you can be. And the more you grow as a person, as a leader, as a business owner, as a thought leader, that helps your business and your people and your team. The more you learn about team building, the more you learn about mental acuity, the more you learn about positive self-talk, all the stuff that you're talking about with your personal development. The more you learn about that, the more you can help your team. The more that when they get in those situations and you run into roadblocks or problems, you can help them with that. So I would not look as your personal development different than you becoming a better leader. Now, when you start talking about coaching outside of your business and trying to help others and trying to balance that, I would caution you just from experience, and that's what this is as an experience share, is if you even talked about this in your first question, is your business is not growing as fast as you want it to or on the pace that you want it to. And oftentimes when that happens, that's because we have taken sight or lost sight off of what is important or what is making us income. And there's this stat, I don't even know what it is anymore, but that the average millionaire has 12 to 14 different income streams. And I thought that at the very beginning that I needed to do that. But when I lost focus on my main business, then my main business started to decline and it was not growing the way it should. And so I had to refocus and say, this is what makes my income. Even though I want to do these other things, this is what's making me income and this is what I need to focus on. And until it got to a point that it could run by itself without me there, then I was able to start doing other things. I've been in business for almost 13 years and I have not started coaching or mentoring or whatever for the last couple of years. So think about that. I'm 10 years into my journey and just now starting to do that. Now, yeah, have I helped people along the way and have I given them advice? Of course. But the thing to think about too is the best way to help people in their business or personal life is to be the best that you can at that. And so if your business is not growing the way you want it to, that should be the focus, because the things you're going to go through and learn at that point, you're going to be able to help people down the road. So again, I would not confuse your personal development with your business growth, because I think those go hand in hand. All right, next question comes from Rohit. Rohit says, do you have any ideas for a retail store to increase sales? So the business description says, I own a retail store that sells international snacks and drinks based in Canada. I'm currently doing about $50,000 in sales year to date. I would like to grow my business to $100K by the end of the year. Just looking for ideas to add sales, meet our goals if you have any. Very broad question. Oftentimes people focus on sales. To me, profit is almost more important at this point, especially with doing a smaller amount. And so if you're, the thing I would challenge you first of all is if you're at 50,000 year to date, we're barely halfway through the year, you should, if you're doing the same thing, you should end up at 100K by the end of the year. So that would not even be a stretch goal. That would be just, maintaining. Now, if you want to go to 125 or 150, then that's something to talk about. There are tons of ways to do that. And we've talked about this, I think maybe before, but learning promotions, learning what your customers want, the whole metric, and I don't know if you measure your KPIs or track your KPIs for your retail store, but when I was in retail with American Eagle and with Gap and Just for Feet, we would track certain KPIs or key performance indicators, and the things that we focused on and the things we worked on increasing really helped our sales. If we just went in and said, hey, we want to do 10% over last year, we need to work backwards and figure out how we're going to do that. And so the KPIs that we worked on, the big three that we worked on were conversion. And conversion basically is the number of people that walk in your store, how many of those people buy it. And so our goal, we had a certain number that the company gave us, and then we worked on increasing that. And so if your conversions, let's just say 20%, that means that if you have 100 people walk in, 20% are going to buy something from you. So start tracking that number so that way you know. There are ways to do that. You can do clickers, it doesn't have to be perfect. You can do door counters. That stuff gets expensive, but figure out the number of people that are walking in versus the number of people that are buying and how do you increase that. How do you talk to people? How do you showcase your product? There's a ton of different ways that we could talk about. But conversion, the second one, the second KPI that we focused on was called UPT, or units per transaction, is how many units is the average customer buying. So maybe your goal is 2.0. So you want every customer on average to buy at least 2 items. So then how do you get them to buy 3 or 2.5 or whatever it is? Do you do promos? Do you have impulse buys at the register? Do you do a BOGO? There's all types of stuff that you can do with a sequence of promotions. And so maybe, the first of every month you do a certain promotion, or on certain holidays you do certain promotions. And then the next one was ADS, or average dollar sales. How much did the average customer spend with us? And again, working on ways to increase that. So if your average sale is $25, how do you get it to 26? How do you get it to 26 and a half? How do you get it to 27? And when you start working on those 3, conversion, KPIs, or conversion, UPT, units per transaction, and average dollar sale, when you start working on increasing all of those at the same time, then your numbers will start to increase. Because again, if you can increase the number of people that buy stuff, increase the number of units they buy, and the number of dollars they buy, then your numbers will slowly start to go up. So hopefully that helps, Rohit. Next question comes from Ricardo. Again, Ricardo says, how do I partner with people in business? So his business description, or as the background of this question says, I'm potentially interested in getting into other businesses and partnering eventually. How does someone considering partnering with people in business, how does that conversation start? So as I talked about earlier, Ricardo, is I love that you are wanting to help people and that you want to do other things in business. But your very first question, you just talked about how you're not on the trajectory that you want to be with your business. So that should be your focus. As far as partnering with people, partners can be great, they can be detrimental. And so it's really, if a partnership needs to be almost perfect or completely ideal, and hammering out all those responsibilities and roles that you have prior to that. And so if a person is just looking to partner with you, you got to make sure your skill sets align, your visions align, all that kind of stuff. It depends on all that. But it's just with networking if you're looking to do that. And so it's just looking for potential opportunities to partner with people. And there's a ton of different ways you can partner. You can be a silent partner, majority partner. You can be just a financial partner. You can be the idea guy. I mean, there's tons of different ways. And so it's just really networking with people, talking to them, introducing yourself, casting your vision, and letting them know kind of what your skills are. But again, I would really just challenge you to focus on your main business right now, on your barbershop, and getting that to where it runs by itself. You're bringing in enough income that you can pay for your expenses and not have to be there. That would be the thing that I would really work on right now. Next question comes from Tori. Tori says, what are the initial things to focus on when you're at the very, very beginning? So the business description says, I have a junk removal business in Atlanta. I'm a single mom, and I'm at the very beginning of making a life for my kids and myself. I have ideas for business, but I find myself getting overwhelmed with what to focus on and how to develop a plan while balancing single mom life. Thanks for any insight. So I'm curious if it says you have a junk removal business. So it depends on where you're at in these stages. Depends on if you have a team that works for you, if you're doing all the work yourself, is this a new business? How long have you been in business? But the thing to focus on, and if you're at the very beginning stages, number one, you need to know who your avatar is, or your ideal customer. So if you have a junk removal business, who needs you in Atlanta? Are you in the greater Atlanta area? Are you on the outskirts? What is your radius? Like what does your average customer look like? Do they own a home? Do they own a business? How much money do they make? All this kind of stuff is really identifying what your avatar is. And so you can talk to Sean about that. He's great at helping you do that. But figure out who your customer is. And then how do you make money? I mean, that's the biggest thing, is like, how do you make money with a junk removal business? And do you have to do that yourself, or can you hire that out? So, it's really, how do you get to a point, if you are doing all the work yourself, how do you get to a point to where you can hire somebody to do that for you? Or can you get other equipment that makes it easier, make you more efficient, make you faster? And so really coming up with a business plan too is probably the very first thing. It doesn't have to be complex. It just needs to, bullet point a few things. And then when you start doing activities and you start doing things for your business, if it doesn't align with that business plan and it takes focus away from that or your energy away from that, then you know you're doing the wrong thing. But identifying your customer, how do you make money? Can you hire somebody to do it? And how do you make more money? And those are very simple and very basic things. But be very focused on your time management, as we talked earlier, time blocking, and really just saying, hey, for this next 25 minutes, I'm working solely on this. And maybe that is identifying what your ideal customer is. Where do you find them? How do you market to them? And then how do you make money? So hopefully that helps, Tori. Last question comes from Nick. Nick says, how do I know when it's the right time to quit my day job and go in on my business full time? So business description says, I have a full-time job and I started a landscaping business. I already have clients in the business and gaining momentum. I know it's a mindset issue I'm having. How do I know when it's time to take a leap? Is there a formula or just go for it? It's exciting, first of all, to think about that. And most of us have been there to where we've had a job. And sometimes some of us might have been forced into starting our own business. Some of us started a side hustle and then had to make that decision. So Joe Nugent is a great person to talk to about this. As he had to make that choice, and it was very profound for him. But it depends on a lot of things, like every question. But do you have a family? Are you by yourself? Like, what is your debt like? What is your income like right now with your landscaping business? And so I know it's summertime. Can you make a living in the off season with what you're going to make during the summer? I mean, there's a lot of things that go into that. I am way more of a risk taker than most people. I usually think I can figure it out. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But then there are also people that need to plan, and there needs to be a balance of that. You can overanalyze, you can be too risky. But if you're smart about it, having 3 to 6 months of funds saved, personal funds, an emergency fund, to where if you need to live off them in the winter, then you can do that. What happens if a mower breaks? What happens, whatever it is. So I would encourage you to look at your expenses, look at, what you can save, what you can cut, what's not needed. Also, like we talked about earlier, sacrificing some of your social time or family time, not your main family, but, cousins, whatever it is, sacrificing some of that so you can work extra and really figure out what is important to you. And if it is important to you to quit your full-time job, you need to be doing everything that you can to make money and save money. So that way, when the time comes, there's less stress. And then maybe it is you work as hard as you can for as long as you can this summer, save up as much, see what the winter is like track your expenses and your income and see what the winter's like. So that way, if you're doing landscaping. I know you talked about doing snow removal and other things, but what if you can't do snow removal this year? How far would that income that you made during the summer kind of take you? And then maybe next spring you have a better idea and a better plan. That's the great thing about AO and having Sean and Joel and Dan and all these others that are mentors that can help you with this. And so when you come to events too, there's, way more in-depth conversation around this kind of stuff. When you join the Sunday Zooms and you do your calls with Sean, if he offers coaching, that's the kind of stuff where you can work through this and really get a solid game plan on how to go from your full-time job to what you want to do or to your side hustle. But I would encourage you to reach out to Joe Nugent and talk to him about that. Roy has also done that recently. So Roy can kind of walk you through that. He's a new mentor. He just crossed $1 million. He has a great apparel brand, but they can both walk you through what they did, like the mindset. If you talk about a mindset issue, they can help you through that. But those are the things that I would focus on. So great questions, everybody. Make sure you keep asking those in the portal. I wasn't on last Sunday's Zoom, but the couple I have been before have been great. So those are times to really deep dive into this. Usually get a couple different other experience shares with that. So the Sunday Zooms are 8 Central every Sunday. So make sure you guys hop on that. Other than that, everybody have a great Thursday, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks.